Hello, everybody. This is Georgianne Hughes, and this is The Bite Show. And this is part 2 of Remembering Mengele. Hi, Douglas.
Yes, thanks again for this part 2. And I don't know how something like this will register, but with those that are listening. But I plan on sending this to all those that are on my what I call my SRIDID list. And so, our desire is first and foremost to validate some of those survivors out there who have never talked about their relationship or connection with Joseph Mengele, because they were told that they would never be believed.
Yeah.
And I think just to open up this second session a little bit, I'm going to tell just a little story, just take me a few minutes, regarding the official Justice Department's report that was issued under the Clinton administration, which stated that there was no evidence, after careful research, there was no evidence that Dr. Joseph Mengele was ever in the United States. And of course, I put a response and let everybody ask that. How would you respond? Well, I think it's kind of a moot question at this point. But when I read that report, Georgianne, I was furious, because I had worked not only with people here, but there are other people we're not interviewing tonight. I think about the girl, I forgot her name, Lori knows her name, out in Phoenix, Arizona. Mm-hmm. There's a girl there. There's a girl that we've known and that was with us for a while, and from Las Vegas, different people from different places that have all reported this man. And when I heard this official report under the Justice Department, and I don't remember who was the cabinet appointee under Clinton, but the person right under him, it was right under the appointed cabinet member, I forget what he called. He was one of the director of the Justice Department there, that was right under the appointed cabinet member. He was Jewish, and I can't remember his name, but he's the one that released the report. When I heard this, I called Washington, D.C., and I said, I went through the switchboard. I said, I need to talk to so-and-so who issued this report. Of course, I've been in sales and been very successful in sales, so I know how to get past screeners.
Yes.
And so they picked me up. Got the secretary, and I said, I'd like to talk with whatever his name was, a Jewish guy, a Jewish name anyway. And she says, what is this about? And I said, I told my name. And she says, what is your name? And I gave my name. She says, what is this about? And I said, this is a private and personal matter. And there was silence.
Yeah. And
I said, well, I really need to know. I said, no. I said, this is a private personal matter. I need to talk to this man. I stopped and waited. There was silence. The next thing, please hold on. I probably waited a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and he came on. And I first started off, I introduced myself. I said, I read your report. That the report is that Dr. Joseph, there's no evidence that Dr. Joseph Mengele was ever in the United States. I said, I am working with a number of people who have reported contrary to this. Yeah. He says, who are these people? And I said, they have a history. I didn't use the word satanic ritual abuse. I said, they have a history of sadistic abuse and trauma. They come from all over the United States. And I explained it to him. And they have a history of severe trauma, is represented in terms of dissociative identity disorder. And he says, how can you believe these people? Oh. How do you know the reports is true? And I said, excuse me. I said, and I knew he was Jewish. I said, those people will come out of the Holocaust. How can you believe that their story is true?
Yeah.
He just backpedaled.
Yes.
And he said, well, he really did. And I was furious. I was being kind of controlled, but I was very direct. And finally, as we talked a little bit there, and he kind of softened a little bit when I brought up the issue of the Holocaust, he said, well, I don't talk about issues of my faith. I said, Mr. So-and-so, this is not about faith. This is about history and what has happened, and that he has been in this country when we have corroborative testimonies. And here's what he said. He says, if I need to redo this, I said, I'm willing to do it. Oh. He showed some humility, and but because the information that he had was that he wasn't here. Now, I remember talking with Connie just here recently that there were some incidents, and when Mengele was around, there were CIA operatives that were attending him. Is that correct, Connie? There were CIA people with him?
Yes, this is correct.
And so, what do you think? What is your understanding of why? And if there's anybody else wants to comment on this, why CIA operatives were attending Mengele?
Well, I mean, I don't have probably the whole picture, but the way I see it is, they're working towards one world government and a superior race. This is all a part of it. I mean, you have government, not all government officials know about this, but like the CIA ops were there. They had some of the Italian mafia guys there, like the big guys. And this was out at the farm. It was like a barn that they had as a meeting place.
Well, CIA was a Nazi organization.
Right. So they're all working together. So when he was there, my mother didn't know about this, but my father did. But he didn't know how involved it was. But they met out at the farm, and he had bought the place purposely for that because it had this huge barn in it. It had all these different rooms in it. And so they would come out there and meet and do some strategy planning and stuff like that. But at that point, he was highly hidden away. He was not circulating out, in public at all. This was one of the first times he was there.
Yeah. And I would just add for the listeners, if people are not aware of this, that under MK Ultra, the MK, the K is the Nazi. Instead of a C, it's a K, it's mind control. And under the CIA directed program called MK Ultra, that was an umbrella project with, I believe, 150 or so sub-projects under that. I mean, those files were declassified. Here, a decade or so ago, Dr. Colin Ross wrote a book on, the CIA doctors. He changed the name and he rewrote it. I forget the new name, but I think it's called the CIA doctors. But he read through all 18,000 pages of the declassified CIA MK Ultra project, and some of it was blacked out. But I mean, what he got was able to piece together because he was hearing in his office all these different people that were subjected to CIA kinds of trauma-based mind control. So he documented all this separately, and rather than just the anecdotal testimonies of his clients, and wrote a whole book on it, documenting everything that they had said. And the reason why I bring this up is because I remember working with Sally one time. There was CIA, but when we're working with this level of trauma-based mind control, all this CIA level of programming to be used as a carrier of information without the person even knowing that the information is in their head, but of course the handlers have a way to extract that information. Yeah. This is all layered in about, say, between 3 and 6 years of age. All the CIA programming was really just a layer on top of the deeper level stuff that was hiding the connections with the royal families of Europe. And so when people say, yeah, we're in the CIA, or we're a mind control, or this is the super soldier project, that's all outer layering. I mean, and you can have those, and it's real. But with the people I'm working with, the royal bloodlines, that's just a shield. I mean, we can't go into it tonight, but we have, people here that were involved in the planning stages of the ritual killing of JFK, President Kennedy. I mean, this is accumulated through the years, and the CIA was involved with that, but the directive didn't come from the CIA. We know the directive came from the power elites of Europe, in spite of what others may say on that. We know from the insiders. But I bring this whole thing on the CIA and trauma-based mind control. I mean, Dr. Ewan Cameron, when he was doing his work in Montreal and what's called de-patterning, there were over 400 people involved, and there was a class action lawsuit. Some of those that he had worked on, referring to Dr. Ewan Cameron, where he would reduce them to blank slate, or de-pattern them and then rebuild their personality. There was a group that got together and filed a class action lawsuit, and guess who they sued? They sued the CIA because the CIA was financing Dr. Ewan Cameron. And you know what? The CIA, it never went to court. This class action lawsuit was settled outside of court. We know that two of the CIA operatives were behind the foundation of the false memory syndrome. I've forgotten their names now. Russ Dusdar would remember, and I've forgotten them. But the false memory syndrome was a front, and I believe, to kind of cover their tracks. They brought in a couple pedophiles to kind of run the operation. But I think the false memory syndrome has been fully discredited now. But they've been actively involved in trying to cover their tracks. So where does all this CIA come in? Not all levels of the CIA knows what other levels are doing. And so you get into some of these inner operatives. They're connected and interfaced with other CIA, like M6 in England and different secret services throughout the world. And at the hub of all this, their goal and their agenda is to bring in a new world order and one world government. And that's just the bottom line. And so we'll leave it with that. And I want to just pick up here with point number 4 that I have. And this is for anyone out there. Anyone can respond. And this is just a question. Would it be correct to view Dr. Josef Mengele as the primary pioneer of what is understood today as programming, using trauma-based mind control protocols that he perfected at Auschwitz? Do you think is that a correct perception, or would someone like to comment on that in any way you see would be accurate?
Hi, yes, Doug. Yes, I believe he was the primary pioneer because Auschwitz served as a testing ground, and I believe then through the trauma-based mind control, or because of Auschwitz and his work there, the bloodlines, the royal bloodlines, took note of that and hired him for the project, for the Nephilim project, because that, I believe, is the target that is happening here now in this age, is the Nephilim project. They knew through satanic intelligence where it really wanted to go with the trauma-based mind control. It's not just to take over the world, but Russ Dizdar really documents very nicely about the Black Awakening. However, there is the next phase that comes after that, which is the Nephilims being revealed too. And so Joseph Mengele was very much a pioneer in structuring this corporate web, satanic web, and laying the foundation for the Nephilim project.
And let me just add, when you say Nephilim project, that could be understood by some as a modern-day hybrid breeding program, just as what was taking place in Genesis 6 that's been covered. Randy Domain, I just heard him interviewed today by L.A. Marzulli. I'll be contributing to a new book that he is writing on the Nephilim and the Fourth Kingdom, along with Lynn Marzulli. But he was describing that there is today there is a current breeding program that is going on, and he confirms that, Randy Domain. And here's the very interesting thing. I was talking with Lynn Marzulli the day he called, and he mentioned that in he's doing a Watchers 2 DVD. His Watchers 1 was really excellent. It's got really high acclaim. But then he went to Oklahoma City and he did a filming with Gary Stearman there in Prophecy in the News. And he told me when he was with Gary, one of the first questions he asked him, is there a current, ongoing hybrid breeding program going on today? He said, absolutely yes.
Well,
and then when he met with...
Look at Dr. Craig Vintner, what he has done, making synthetic DNA, synthetic chromosomes.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Is that the Cynthia project, as they call it, for synthetic, the synthetic biology? Yeah.
Yeah.
But when I was thinking about this whole hybrid thing, and as I was mentioning, Lynn, he's doing Watchers 2 now, and he's gathering information. So he went and had a meeting with Dr. Chuck Missler, and he asked Chuck Missler straight out, "Do you believe there's a current hybrid breeding program today?" And he says, "Absolutely, I do." You know, and why isn't it open? Why can't we track it down? He says, yes, because it's the mystery of iniquity. It is still hidden. The time of the revealing is not here. 2 Thessalonians 2:4. And so they're all tracking the same way. I mean, I've been invited to speak at this conference in Austin and with Lynn Marzulli and Randy Domain. And after the the book has been written, and